Okay.
Okay, are we test?
We are testing.
Waiting for a confirmation.
In the event that we get that confirmation or in the absence thereof, this is Scott and Ken. We are at the Burnsville Stadium. We are in Burnsville, Minnesota for tonight's game. Varsity Minnesota State High School League Boys Lacrosse. The Burnsville Blaze hosting our beloved Eagan Wildcats.
Are we on? Can you hear us? Oh, okay.
We've been given confirmation.
We've been cleared to take off.
We've been cleared for takeoff. Let's hope it's not one of those Boeing disasters where if you sense that the broadcast's nose is diving, there's a good chance that it is.
The 737 MAX 8, right? That may be where this broadcast is going.
We'll see.
Tonight.
We'll do our best to pull back on the stick. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ken. I got Scott to my immediate left. We're in Burnsville at the Bob Pate Stadium, Dick Hansen Field, for tonight's Minnesota State High School League-endorsed Burnsville Blaze against the Eagan Wildcats Minnesota State High School League lacrosse contest. So, Scott, here we are.
Yep.
On a Tuesday night, weather much nicer than it was last night for any sports that were in gymnasiums or whatever working out. What do we have going on here tonight?
Well, I think what we have to do, I think it would be appropriate to kind of step back to last week a little bit before we get going. And so we played in a couple of competitive games last week, and Ken and I talked a little bit about how those teams we believe would be good and competitive throughout the year. Saturday's results. Chanhassen defeated Matamidi. Matamidi is a state power in lacrosse. Eastridge played Princeton Old St. Margaret's, one of the top teams in the state, lost by 1 goal. Those teams we saw last week were really good. Just a confirmation of some of those things we were talking about. But so tonight we shift forward into another phase of the schedule, and we believe things are going to be a little different. We're just getting the starting lineups going here.
Yeah, and there seems to be like Scott, like you said, we've seen a couple of teams and we've gotten some scores from games that they've followed up against, and what it's showing is kind of a pattern of teams kind of playing into their strengths, maybe slowing the pace of games down, but it's also showing a little bit of parity. Amongst a few teams. We play a tight game with someone, they go play a tight game with someone.
Yep.
We're going to get our shot at someone that has come through that network of recent opponents. And again, we're in a certain phase of our schedule. But one thing that we commented on earlier before the broadcast was that you blink and you're halfway plus through the season.
Yeah, we're 7 weeks from the section final. 7 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is crazy. This season is so compacted and happens so fast. The teams that are peaking at the right time are going to move on to the state tournament and be successful. And if you start to look back in the past several seasons, I don't know if anybody would have expected Prior Lake to be state champions in 18 and 16 on the first week of April.
Sure.
By the second week into June, they were rolling. Mm-hmm. They have a couple of state championship trophies to their credit for that.
So we're not getting paid, but we'll say it. We're getting paid to talk about the Wildcats, but since they're introducing the starting lineup for the Blaze, Scott, what does Burnsville bring to this contest tonight?
Burnsville is a young team. They've had a lot of roster turnover. A new coach. He was an assistant with the program last year, but his first year head coaching the Blaze, Nick Roffers. Previous to this, he was a JV coach at Bloomington Kennedy. A lot of roster turnover. They lost 12 seniors last year to graduation. Only 5 returning players. 8 returning players from last year's roster. So this is a young team. This is an experienced team. We've got a program in the process of attempting to rebuild itself and kind of lay a foundation. So quite a contrast from what we saw last week. We saw an existing state power, an emerging state power. Now we see a program trying to establish itself on the scene here. And this is a tough conference. Also our first conference game, South Suburban Conference. So the task is tall here, but we'll see what Burnsville's got, right? They got a lot to prove, and I think how our team, the Wildcats, respond, right? Well, how they come out and play in this game.
Well, I mean, this is not reflective anywhere near what we faced in the last two outings. And that's a good point. How does the Eagan team respond if they're able to get out quickly, if they're able to create some space on the scoreboard? What do they do with it? Do they lay back? Do they continue to pile it on? Do they kind of say, hey, this is where we wanted to be intensity-wise and cohesion-wise?
Yep.
Against Eastridge in a game that was back and forth, and really called into play where these boys were at emotionally and the gut checks.
Yep.
So.
Yep, we need to see how they come out. Again, keys for the game for Eagan, face-offs. We're going to keep saying that until we get that resolved. Maintaining and maximizing possessions offensively and disrupting those possessions defensively. So, free ball down there off the face-off. That was Robbie Otto taking the face-off, I believe. That was a junior midfielder. And so Burnsville gets the first possession. So, again, that we're going to keep talking about the face-offs and possession. And until that clears itself up, I think it's a big conversation, a big part of what's happening here.
Well, there's a really good chance that even with our developing level of experience in the face-off circle, that we might kind of gain some confidence tonight with regard to that, because we aren't facing a real deep team age-wise, experience-wise, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Burnsville with possession. Ooh, nice loose ball.
And that's an important thing for the Wildcats. Disrupt their offensive rhythm. You know what? Burnsville maintains possession there, but it's a disruption to what they were running. They now have to reset. That was number 14, Corey Bell, bringing the ball into the game. He's probably the most key player on this Burnsville roster, a junior midfielder, a returning player from last year. He's somebody that the Wildcats will certainly need to keep their eye on when Burnsville has possession of the ball. So from Burnsville's perspective, their keys to the game, they got to contain Eagan's offense. They can't let them run rampant all over the field. They need to maintain their energy level. They're going to come out fired up. Big, first conference game. Trying to rebuild the program here. They're going to want to prove something. They got to maintain that level, and then they have to limit their mistakes. If they're turning the ball over, they're making mistakes. Eagan's going to capitalize on that, and start to really put some distance between themselves and Burnsville. So those are things to watch for. This first possession right here, this is exactly what Burnsville needs to do.
Yeah, there's a lot more room for error on the part of big save by Wallach. But clearly Burnsville's keeping the pressure on. They're all over the ground balls.
They are, yeah.
And, these are just fundamental things, and I think there's a rhythm that both teams are looking. There's a little disruption. There's a rhythm right now that I think Burnsville's finding a way to get into right now.
Yeah, and just okay, we're 2 minutes in, just a little concern. Burnsville's had possession the first 2 minutes.
Correct.
And again, there was one forced turnover. Burnsville did get the ball. Now it looks like the Wildcats have the ball. And let's see how they set up here.
Stone will bring it in. 2 minutes gone by, as Scott mentioned, at the 9:50 mark of the first quarter. It's 0-0 here. Bob Pate Stadium in Burnsville.
Turnover there.
Yeah.
You got to minimize that stuff, right? Didn't get a chance. Eagan didn't get a chance to set up their offense. So Zach Wallach with the save, outlet to Jack Stone, and we're going to see that speed that we've talked about with Jack over the past couple games.
There will be a developing sense of impatience, I think, on the part of the Eagan boys if they kind of keep laying around here at 0-0 as we get well into the first quarter. They're going to say, listen, we're out here to play these guys, but we've been certain places in our recent past, and we think we should be scoring goals. And I think soon there could be a fire lit shortly out of impatience that's going to result in conceivably a few, maybe even unanswered goals by the Blue.
That was some pretty solid defense there by Burnsville, containing Drew Wilson.
And they had that middle jammed up a little bit, too, as there's a long outlook
pass.
They
have, and, that was something we talked about last Thursday night, how well Eastridge jammed up the middle, and Eagan couldn't quite find a way to penetrate it, right?
Right.
And again, a quick possession there. It kind of felt like that possession that there was this sort of like somebody had to make something happen right away to get a goal. And it's like, yeah, we want that, but run the offense, relax, do what you know you can do. There's talented players on the field for the Wildcats. They need to relax, run the offense, make plays, get good shots. Because you're right, it can be hard in a game like this. You're expecting to win, and you maybe start to force a little bit. Like,
Sure.
It's 0-0.
Yeah, why aren't we scoring goals yet kind of thing.
It's 4 minutes into the game, and it's 0-0. Be patient, run the offense, good movement.
And again, they're trying to get the ball inside, and if it's not there, they're going to look to maybe Wilson on the left side there and opening things up. Looks like Gibson goes behind. A nice, oh boy. There we go.
That's Jack Stone on the finish there.
Yeah, they had the right idea with the first pass. I'm not sure if that just got in and out of someone's stick and fell into Stone's stick, but he was Johnny on the spot. Quick grab and release. Nice goal. Eagan, 1-0 at the 7:41 expired mark first quarter.
Yeah, I think that's again, we saw a couple at the end of the game Thursday. Eagan benefited from getting off-ball movement. Damian Schultz down there behind the net, waiting for that cut, hit that pass, and there's a great part of the field to score some quick goals from.
Well, it's clearly a way into that elusive inside middle that has been jammed up. Trying to get there from the perimeter is one thing, but trying to get there by way of going to the X-Man is a whole nother story.
Yeah, and again, that only works when the other five guys on the field, or some of them, are moving. If you're standing there in this game and your feet aren't moving, you're not much assistance to your team, right? That's not true in every position, every time, every place of the field. There we go, a nice finish there. That was an assist from Drew Wilson, Colby Sorensen on the goal. But again, where was the goal scored from? 6 yards, 4, 5, 6 yards in front of the net, rotation movement. Open shot in front of the net.
Well, we're 3 games now into this season, and I think some things that come to mind, we're seeing a lot of the goals are result. We've seen some shots from the perimeter, and if it gets out of hand and we're starting to think, hey, get better shot selection, when you're seeing 1 and 2 and maybe even sometimes a third pass within that 10-yard radius of the net, that's when the goalie's head on a swivel, it's just not enough, and it has resulted in, we just saw 2 quick goals by the Blue. Eagan with the possession, kind of a tertiary face-off win.
Yeah, Robbie Otto couldn't quite get a handle on it. Fortunately, another member of the team came and picked it up, established possession. It looks like that might be a recipe for success here, is move the ball around, distribute, look for an opening, look for a slasher, look for a cutter.
Number 3, Colby Sorensen. Assist to number 13.
Oh, a couple of nice shots there. One point blank on target, and then it looked like it was Schultz that picked one up, tried to go ground ball, and didn't have much of a target, but, boy, it would have been a nice shot, just wide.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll take the pressure. Two quality shots there. We'll take that.
Well, even if they're getting quality shots and not scoring, the pressure, the time of possession, the confidence in being able to work in offense, it all adds up to good things. Oh.
Right idea.
There he just kind of dumped her in.
Yep.
Yeah, the goalie came out and really got in the way there, but he couldn't hold on to it. And Schultz was right there to just kind of roll it in.
So the goalie deflected the initial pass there. Nifty little play originated by Drew Wilson. Pulled a couple defenders to the side. Tried to move it across the slot there and got deflected. Damian Schultz ended up picking up and putting the goal in.
6:15 remaining.
So we're going to try something a little different this broadcast. Introduce a concept here for those of you viewers to ask the booth a question about what you see going on in the game, something about the world of lacrosse. We're going to put a text message number up there for you to send us those questions. We'll give this a trial. We'll see how it goes. If we like your questions, we'll address them, and we'll keep the number up. If we don't, well, we'll just say we didn't get it. So if you would like, here's your opportunity. 651-235-2718 will get you to the booth here. If you have questions about what's happening tonight in Burnsville, questions about the Eagan lacrosse program, whatever else you might have.
Kind of a turnover unforced by the Cats as Burnsville moving the ball up relatively quickly, getting that quick touch and trying to set up. The shadow has fully engulfed the field now with just a tiny little exception. And I know we had talked briefly about how the goaltender for Burnsville may have had to contend a little bit with the sun, but the Cats are setting it up here.
He's in good. The sun's pretty much dissipated at this point.
Only along the player's sideline, and that's about it, and that won't be with us for much longer.
Little errant pass there.
Yeah, turnover again. And, whether it's whatever phase of the season that we're in, because it's such a quick season, you have to kind of be mindful of the fundamentals and where you're at. And it isn't that you're forgetting the fundamentals as much as it is that you're forgetting to execute them and how important they are. Wide open net.
Tanner Whips was trying to get free there. He had an open net to shoot at.
Gets it down to Colbert in the corner. He did have an open net.
Again, he did the right thing. Number one, get possession of the ball.
Yep.
As excited as you are about that open net and that goalie out of position, get possession of the ball. Take a look at what you have and see what the defense gives you.
Gibson with a shot and a goal.
Yep, nice little cut to the right there and puts a shot low and puts the Wildcats up 4-0. You touched on the fundamentals in any game, particularly how this game's shaping up early. You can't get sloppy. If you do, it's going to hurt you later in the season. You got to be crisp, look good, be sharp all the time, right?
We were at Eastridge recently, and here we are in Burnsville tonight on both games on turf. And we're still, whether it be early in the season, understanding that it's a game where someone might be coming after us, and like as in the Eastridge game, still working to very fundamentals, getting those ground balls. I don't know that we've, and you're not going to ever master it. It's one of those things that in the heat of battle, you get ground balls, you miss ground balls. But the teams, like you said, that peak fundamentally at the right time of the year, particularly if it's around the sections, those are the teams that will be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about peaking at the right time, and you don't have a big window to do it. Oh, Tanner Whips couldn't quite hang on to that one. And a turnover.
Kind of a semi-long clearing pass to one of their long sticks. Thrall with a little body.
Yep, you got to like that. That forces a turnover. Just
yeah,
like that.
He's a sizable kid. And well-placed stick, a little underhand pass up to Meisinger on the double hop, past Gibson. Meisinger down to Colbert in the corner, looking, and there could be a shot coming if he sees a lane. And there it is. Oh. Yeah, probably actually a pretty good shot. I think he probably caught the goalie on the ground in front of him. I'm not sure how much of a save he made on that. There was traffic, which doesn't serve the goaltender. Burnsville ball.
Burnsville goalie is Nick Hermestead, number 18. He's seeing a lot of action tonight. He's a sophomore. He's, I think, going to be a busy guy tonight. Made a couple saves early. Going to face a lot of pressure from the Wildcats, and how his defense can help him out.
Gibson kept that ball alive with a little fancy footwork, could not come up with it. Stone did, had a nice run in, but very wisely kind of pulled back, slowed things down. Is there a tendency, Scott, sometimes when you've scored 4 unanswered goals, as we sit here with just over 2 minutes remaining in quarter one, is there a tendency to like get yourself caught up in an impatient mode? And you have to think, hey, pull it back, reset?
Yeah, I think you have to. What's the game plan? What's our offense? How do we want to execute this? Don't get fancy. Don't get cute. What Stone did, I thought that was a great play. He read what the defense gave him. It wasn't there. He pulled back and reset. The Wildcats are shooting, taking some good shots here. That's the right thing to do.
Yep.
Young goalie, inexperienced defense a little bit. Keep firing.
Schultz to Wilson for a shot and a goal. 2:08 remaining. Number 5 finds the back of the net. Number 13 sent the 5th goal into the back of the Burnsville net. And again, too, it's like, you're going to start seeing these goals. They're going to be spread out among X number of guys. And the Burnsville team, like several other teams this year, they're going to say, man, these Wildcats are deep.
Yeah, and we have Eagan's got 5 goals, 5 different scores right now.
Yeah, it's helpful.
If you get in that position where all 6 guys on the field at a given time have the ability to create offense, it poses a matchup problem, and that could bode well for us later in the season, right?
Mm-hmm. And we have talked about that. You brought that up on a couple of occasions, how we have a couple of players that in and of themselves can create matchup problems. Wilson, Schultz, Stone, guys that will attract enough attention where it creates openings elsewhere.
Jack Thompson in the game. Saw a little action in game 1 and game 1.
Yeah, a couple of nice passes there. There was a shot right away, and the pass came back out front. Again, just kind of showing that let's not get caught up in trying to pour it on too much too fast. There's probably a game plan that says try to keep resetting, but attack when it's there. And again, you saw that second pass bring it back out front for a real good shot that was just wide left.
Yep. Yeah, I think, in game 1, Drew Wilson certainly announced his arrival on the scene. And teams are going to be aware of that and be cognizant of that. They're going to game plan around that. But if we can be balanced, if we can have other people contributing, scoring, it makes the team better. And that's, I think, what we're working towards as we get later in the season. And, we haven't talked about it greatly. In the back third of our schedule, it's brutal. We're going to see some really good teams, and we need to be a well-oiled machine at that point. And a well-oiled machine has 6-7 guys that can produce offense and just create matchup nightmares for some of those teams, regardless of what they bring to the table. Good patient ball movement here.
We're man-up situation. Don't think the box necessarily caught that infraction, but we are man up for the next several seconds as we're well inside of the last minute.
Cole Gibson on a feed from Damian Schultz.
Schultz to Gibson. 6-0 Cats, 42 seconds remaining, quarter 1. And there's probably no sense in kidding ourselves, Scott. We expected to come in here and work out some kinks in the process of a nice, fundamentally sound win.
Yeah, right now, the Burnsville's defense doesn't have an answer for the movement. And you again, 6 goals, I believe, right? We're 6-0 at this point. How many of those goals have been cuts to that interior and good feeds? I think 4 of the 6 have, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
That's speed, that's athleticism. As a defender, your head's got to be on a swivel. You got to be ready for that and watch what's happening. I think right now, Burnsville defensively can't really quite keep pace with what Eagan is doing.
No, and those are goals we like to see. It's one thing when you get nice, clean shooting lanes. As Meisinger finds a shooting lane, as he looked over to his right for like an outlet down towards Colbert in the corner, but he opted for the shot, and it was him and the goalie had about 16 yards, and maybe not even, probably inside of right around 10, and a shot and a goal.
Yeah, he took advantage of some green space that the defense gave him, and if they give you green space, Ken,
yeah, you take it.
You take it, yeah.
Correct.
How do you not, right?
And again, too, like we said, you can look for good shots and take those perimeter shots, and that's one thing. But when you're moving the ball with such precision and such efficiency, that's a lot harder to plan for because there's you run a good play, you have a good shot, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're playing that game as the circle kind of when the noose kind of tightens around the goalie, there's so many things fundamentally that the blue or whomever is doing that you have to. It isn't like let's go and take this away from them. you can't take away their speed or their precision with the passing or their view of the field.
And that looks like it's going to do it for the first quarter.
All right.
We have a touchdown lead here, 7-0.
7-0 Cats after one. Any surprises, Scott, so far?
I don't know if I would have expected 7-0, but Burnsville started out again the first couple minutes controlling possession, and then it completely flipped. The back 9.5 minutes were in Eagan's offensive end, and Eagan's just showing us that they're too athletic, too talented right now for the Burnsville defense to slow down.
And that's a good point, actually. When you mentioned it, I thought about it again. You did point out that 2 minutes into the quarter, we really hadn't possessed the ball at all. It had been all Blaze. Not a lot of, dynamic shooting or anything, but just fundamentally picking up ground balls, executing passes, and not turning it over. Then slowly we started with some stick checks. We started with some body, leaning on these guys. Next thing you know, we go get the first goal, and then it's 6 more to follow.
Yep.
7-0 Big Blue after one.
And from a face-off perspective, we didn't touch on this towards the end of the quarter there. Robbie Otto picked up some nice face-off wins. I saw 2 or 3. There may have been a couple more, but a couple of good, clean face-off wins. And, again, we talked about that earlier in the broadcast. That's tonight's a night to establish some rhythm and do those things and get confidence in that face-off to build for later in the year when you're going to need that.
Well, we've touched on it ad nauseum, and it's going to be a text question. When are you going to stop talking about it? But here's my question as it pertains to face-offs. Are we going to get to a point where we think we've got the problem? We don't have anybody that is experienced. That's probably in essence that's the problem. Are we going to have to just keep on playing to somehow being able to flip the ball out of the circle in the direction of some of our guys? I don't know that we've got the experience if the size is there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we have the size where the experience is there in the face-off circle where we can get in there, go shoulder to shoulder, clamp down on that ball, and make a possession. It's going to be more, I'm going to sweep it to someone, and let's all work together to win these face-offs.
And we have we've talked about this in the first 2 games. We have that sweeping it away. We have the personnel from a speed perspective to get in there and battle for that ball. Jack Stone, Tommy Meisner, Joey Gallus, right? Guys that can get in there with that speed and pick up those ground balls. So it's there. Let's see. It's game 3. Another win for Robbie Otto. We'll take it right now.
Absolutely. And actually, and from a face-off point of view, pulling that ball back to yourself like that works. That completely works. He's a sure-handed kid. He knew where the ball was going. He just turned around, picked up an easy ground ball, and now we're 30 seconds into quarter number 2. It's Scott and Ken here at Bob Pate Stadium, Dick Hansen Field, Burnsville, Minnesota. MSHLS Minnesota State High School League Lacrosse Contest. Eagan visiting Burnsville. Got the Cats up 7-0.
So Eagan's really spreading out the offensive zone now. I think you saw early in the first quarter they were a little tighter in. They're spreading it out. Shot there by Tanner Whips. If you just looked at the position of where the attacks and midfields were, they were spreading that field wide out, moving that ball around. Oh, nice feed by Jack Stone there. Matt Verbeck couldn't quite get a handle on it. Let's see what Burnsville can do here if they can move it up the field and establish some possession like they did early in the game. That's not going to do it. Nice forced turnover there. A little pressure on the ride. Eagan gets it back. Again, look at the not quite as much as the last possession there, but moving the ball around the perimeter.
Yeah, it's clearly there's two fundamentally. There's 2 fundamental packages that we'll see the Cats do. The perimeter game, as they kind of see how that middle space shapes up. But when they do force the issue, they're pretty good still at looking to the left and to the right. Perfect example, just a quick little, probably just glanced away briefly. I believe that was Whips. May have just glanced away for a second, let that one get away from him.
Good pickup there. I think that's Wyatt Bucky in the game. Nice distribution there to Matt Rebet. Couldn't finish. Eli Dolney battling for the ground ball and comes up with it. Moves it up the field. Oh, shot got blocked there. Oh, bounced off the goalie's foot. That should be Eagan ball, and it will be.
Yep, it is.
Looks like it hopped off Nick Hermsted's foot.
Here come the Blaze, yep.
Yep, moving up the field. They really, really haven't. That was Corey Bell, the junior midfielder, getting a shot off there. Thought we would hear his name a little bit more tonight. Probably Burnsville's top player. If you don't have possession, it's hard for your top players to get shots.
I was just going to say it's a possession issue as far as his name not being dropped a whole lot. It's kind of been all Cats since that.
We got a flag down, probably going to be against the Cats, I would assume.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got.
It's like Gallus, probably.
Yeah, a little push or something. As the Blaze player moved in there, looking for an opportunity, clamped down, got it. Sometimes penalties occur, right?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the mentality in athletics in general is to see where the refs are at with these subjective calls, and see where what not what you can get away with per se, but just see what the style of game is. Kind of a quick snipe there by the Blaze. Is that number 5?
It's number 5. That is a Zach Branham, a junior attackman. He was a returning varsity player from last year's squad. Nice look there. Nice shot. Went high. Snuck it past Zach Wallach. It's a good-looking lacrosse shot.
Yeah, it was. It was a really well-placed shot. So, the object is to come up on top, as I think they may have credited the Wildcats with that goal, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it 8-0 Cats?
It should be 7-1.
Yeah, there we go. They were correcting it. I thought they're so used to hitting the one button, they got to reprogram themselves. Another nice. We did not come up with that face-off, but that's kind of a promising look as Meisinger's trying to not let them no freebies here, and
bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah, pretty tenacious, and he's going to wind up with it. And Tommy's kind of surveying the land here over to Raider. Kind of tripped and then lost his whole stick.
Tripped on the rug.
Kind of a scrum. Going to be a little bit of a push. Possession, Burnsville. 7-1 Cats here with 8:37 remaining second quarter. Scott and I were talking earlier. Pretty much what we expected to see. It did not start out the way we wanted it to. 2 solid minutes of possession by Burnsville, and then kind of a hail of shots and goals by the Blue. And here we are at 7-1 as Donley kind of gets that ball down to the carpet.
You've seen a lot of these turnovers that Eagan's forcing tonight. Some of the Blaze players just aren't as strong on their hands, on their stick, and Eagan is able to knock some of those. But we've just seen a number of them. There's an example right there. Eagan can force those turnovers and get possession. Again, we talked about basics, fundamentals, being strong with your hands, good stick skills, good possession, good cradling, all the things you need to do to keep that ball in the stick.
There seems to be a little bit of a disparity in the speed department favor Eagan Blue. And, along with that just comes the ability to change direction in different varying degrees of space. So I don't know if it's pure athleticism, but clearly I think we seem to be a little quicker than the Blaze right now. And that could be the adrenaline. We are up 7-1 with 7:30 remaining. Eagan with the ball. It's like Sorensen looking to the middle. Found somebody. Not quite a good hustle by
there.
for sure. Looks like that's Colbert that kind of laid down some rubber, got himself to the ball, maintained possession.
So a little different offensive look here for the Wildcats. Drew Wilson and Damian Schultz are currently out of the game. Ben Willery and Matt Rebeck replacing them at attack gives the Wildcats just a little different look. Hey, an advantage of a 7-1 game. You can get different looks in the game. Try different things out. See how things work. See how different people work together. Good time to play around with that stuff and see, let other people, display some things, see how different parts of the machine work together.
Thompson to
Shot
Verbeck.
block. Yep, shot block there. That was
there's going to be a whistle.
Verbeck getting the shot blocked.
Now Egan's going to take possession from the looks of the ref on this one. I'm kind of curious. Sorensen finds maybe Diffley back there.
Oh, hit a post.
Diffley trying to stay with that. Looks like that could be Thompson that came up with it.
Yeah, that's Jack Thompson that came out of there, number 23.
Yeah, Verbeck to the left, who he finds on a quick dip of the shoulder, but he pulls back.
I like that. You know what? It's a 7-1 game. He took a look. It wasn't there, and he pulled back.
Yeah. Well, I guess whether it's a 7-1 game or a tight game, you want these guys to understand that there are just circumstances where things can happen and things where things can't. And clearly Verbeck saw that and pulled back. Got Willery up top, I believe. Over to Stone. Colbert looking. Finds on the one hop. Verbeck with a nice little eye stick coordination. Goes back up top to Willery. There's a shot and a goal by, I believe, William Diffley.
Billy Diffley, the junior midfielder.
Yeah, I think one thing that comes to mind here on that last possession is that everyone handled the ball in the context of that one possession, and there were a lot of guys even covered some ground in addition to that. So well done, Big Blue. 5:07 left, quarter two.
Yep.
And it's 8-1. 8-1 Cats on the board. I believe that's accurate.
Yep, that's the correct score.
If we come up with this face-off, which we did in kind of a secondary mode, worked out real well. I'm trying to think who that LSM was.
Yeah, I didn't quite. I was watching
it's Bucky Wyatt. Bucky.
Bucky Wyatt.
Sure. We can go either way here. We're versatile as the Blaze bring it in, and the Cats kind of a little sense of urgency to get back and set it up. But again, Otto, I believe, in the circle, kind of pulling that ball back to himself. And again, we got some fast guys, and we're getting those face-offs.
So turning into a quieter night for our defense, for our D pulls. That can be hard, right? When you have a long stretch where you're not doing anything, and you got to stay alert and stay active and be engaged in the game. It's a good problem to have if you're cheering for the team, but it's just something you need to be aware of. And there are going to be sections of games where we see that this year, right?
Yeah, I know. Clearly, the other side of it is if your poles are, got their tongues hanging out, that's indicative of the fact that you probably A, aren't winning the possession battle, and B, you can't get the ball even, out of your zone with any efficiency. So this is the problem that you would choose to have, that your poles are, kind of more just surveying things, thinking about their own fundamentals. Gibson working himself up, probably had a shot there, but looked back to the middle. Couldn't quite connect with Stone, I believe, and a little over and back. So Burnsville takes over. 3:33 remaining, quarter two. Whips kind of pounding away.
Folks, the text line's still open. We have that up there waiting for your questions. We do have some, actually. This is interesting. We'll pull this up and read it here in a moment. Unfortunately, I don't believe
It's Jimmy Johns texting us to tell us our order is ready.
they're freaky fast. So the question again, I don't know. I don't know who this is from. They are not in my contact list, and I'm not going to read their telephone number because they probably didn't bank on that being distributed. So,
Burnsville trying to get a good look and did. The shot was not on the money, so that worked out well.
So the question, this is great.
All right,
this is the kind of things we're looking for here. Do you think Eagan can take down some of these top-tier teams, such as Benilde, St. Margaret, Minnetonka, etc.? They'll be playing these teams in the state tournament if they make it. Great question. Guess what? We face Benilde, St. Margaret's 2 weeks from Saturday. That'll be a big test. In our regular conference schedule, we're going to run into Prior Lake, Rosemount, Lakeville North. We're going to get a look at them. That was that number 2?
Number 2.
That was number 2, Henry O'Brien, the sophomore attackman.
Pretty well executed play by the Burnsville Blaze. Call it 8-2. A little AC/DC coming over the PA system. 8-2, 2 minutes remaining.
So, can they? Absolutely. This team is talented in a number of facets. We're working out some of the face-off things. The ability to play with those teams is there. When we face them, we have to have all components of our game working together, limit mistakes, win ground balls, all the little things. We have the ability to play with them. I think we can compete with them. We're going to see that in a couple weeks. The ability's there. The talent's there. For Eagan, I think the challenge right now, and as we've talked about early in the season, just getting all the parts working together and sorting out the chemistry and kind of getting defining who your team's going to be and how you're going to play and how you'll match up to teams like that.
You know, the interesting thing is we sound like apologists at different times because we clearly are working our way through just a couple of aspects of our game that have been with us in years past. Every team is going through the same apologetics as there's a flag down, probably for a push. And again, it's one of those things where in real time he may say, that flag probably could come back in. Every team at this stage of the game is preaching fundamentals, is preaching strength in the face-off circle, is preaching, their man-down situations, is preaching goaltending, and is looking at all aspects of their game and saying, where can we shore things up and where can we make ourselves so we're not able to be exploited. So it's not just us and the Eagan community of lacrosse saying, let's see how we can be strong enough to win games. Every program is here with the exception of maybe none. I don't think anybody's no one has risen up. The wheat and the chaff have not been separated yet. We're too early into a very quick season, but everyone is, you're talking about 1-goal games between us and Eastridge and between Eastridge and so-and-so and Benilde. A lot of the teams that they're in the mix, hopefully at the end of the season, they're facing off and they're getting a chance to see what everyone has to offer. And it's all going to come out in the wash, of course. But every other team in the city and in the different sections are doing the same thing. As we're under a minute here, 8-2 Cats. They're all trying to figure out what can we do to be strong.
Yep, and hey, the question alluded to Benilde, St. Margaret, and Minnetonka. In my opinion, and I'm just one guy, those are probably the top 2 teams in the state on paper, talented top to bottom at every position. They're probably the odds-on favorites right now. There's a whole nother cluster of probably 7 to 8 to 9 teams that could be in the mix at the end of the year. Eagan, the Wildcats are one of them. The Prior Lakes, the Wayzatas, the Lakeville North, the Rosemount, Stillwater, Matamidi. I would argue Eastridge is now part of that conversation. Sure. It's pretty tough to argue. We saw them last Thursday night and heard about their performance against Benilde over the weekend. So they're part of that conversation. And there's some others, too. I think, some of the folks up at Irondale would like to believe they're an emerging program.
Sure.
So, hey, those are the elite programs right now. Things could be different in 6 weeks.
Great question.
Injuries, other circumstances, things can develop and unfold, and that's the exciting part about a lacrosse season, a high school lacrosse season, is a lot can happen between now and June
Right.
15th or whenever the
7
state
weeks
championship
from-
game
right.
is.
So 8-2 Cats after after one half of play. We're going to take a quick break here, but Scott, just give me a quick breakdown as to what we saw in half number one.
Eagan's in control of the game, right? They are in control of the game. They're getting good shots, getting looks, creating some offense, doing all the things they need to do. They're winning faceoffs, getting some good, clean faceoff wins. Robbie Otto doing a nice job. So all signs pointing up, doing what they need to do, taking care of business, and have a 6-goal lead at the halfway mark.
All right, so we're going to go into a quick halftime break here. It's 8-2 Wildcats. We're Scott, Ken, and Jesse, and the entire Eagan lacrosse community coming to you live via the internet. Thanks for that question. Bob Pate Stadium. We'll be back at you shortly. Cats lacrosse. back up.
Yep, we're up.
All right. Hey, we're coming into the last minute here of halftime. Plenty of trips to the concession stand and out to enjoy this pretty darn nice night here on this Tuesday. It was awful wet yesterday. So we're back up and running outside. Halftime's winding down. 8-2 Wildcats. You expect to see anything different this half out of, say, the Blaze, Scott, as they come out?
I think they're from their keys at halftime. Be aggressive defensively. They're getting out hustled, outplayed in their own end, and they got to be more aggressive. They got to take some chances, and that might result sometimes in getting beat. But you got to take those chances. There's no other way around it. If you sit back and watch, Egan's going to score.
Yeah, I think
right?
it is. Yeah, if you sit back and try to if you don't impart some sort of physicality and come out swinging, I do think that it's like the offense against their defense. It has two different levels of familiarity. So,
Yep.
And the Wildcats as they come out for the second half.
Keep it going. 7 guys. 8. We have 8 goals. 7 different players have scored. Keep everybody involved in the game. Lots of opportunities. Smart shots, right? Smart shots. Don't shoot for the sake of shooting. Get a good shot. And you know what? Win a
Little
face-off
push.
however you can.
Absolutely. Like I say, Otto's done a nice job of getting that ball pushed out where we can do something with it as Stone takes it up and around the left side into the corner to Colbert. Back to the X for a shot. Wilson, I believe, with a big shot.
Wilson with the shot. Sails a little wide. No harm done. What's happening here? Yeah, it's a Eagan ball.
Clearly.
Not sure what the holdup is.
Colbert will set the ball in motion. Schultz.
So again, that spreading the field out a little bit, creating. We got a Tanner Whips getting a one-on-one matchup here. Oh, good stop there. Good shot. A shot and a stop by Burnsville's goalie, Nick Hermstead. Calling his name a lot tonight. He is seeing all kinds of action.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hockey, but, kind of a nice forechecking type thing.
Yeah.
As, there you go, Merwin with a nice, I might have stepped on the line. Again, you're going to see some of the blue. We're not a physical team per se, but there are dimensions of our game where that comes in handy, and we're not afraid to do it. Merwin with a nice check as he winds up keeping that Blaze guy off the ball, picks it up, steps on the line, quick turnover. But again, he's not getting to that ball in the absence of that body shot.
Yep, and I this can be a physical game. I think you take advantage of that nifty little behind the back pass there. And
boy,
that's a little highlight reel there. Drew Wilson went behind the head, behind the back, hit Damian Schultz and put it home.
Yeah, when you get Schultz just outside the crease like that, he's got head fakes and shoulder drops. So a little razzle-dazzle, as Bill Murray once said, and resulting in a goal for the Cats. 10:39 remaining, quarter 3, 9-2 Cats.
We'll put the text line back up, a feature we're giving a tryout. We had a great question in the first half regarding Egan's ability to compete and perform with the top teams in the state. So we'll put that back up. 651-235-2718 to reach the booth here. Questions about Eagan lacrosse, the game, what you're seeing tonight, what we're talking about. Lacrosse questions in general, we can field a lot of different things. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we will do our best.
I know Scott was telling me earlier he's also kind of dually trained as a life coach. So if you're looking for any
Wow.
maybe we better leave that out of the booth. Quick shot to the post by the Cats and a dump down. One of the poles takes it for the Cats, moving it up and looking. Looks like that's Merwin who finds Wilson, who got it over into the hands of Schultz, and he was looking to kind of get himself in position for a shot. Went out of bounds. It quantifies as a shot. Colbert will set things right in that back corner as an errant ball finds its way to the playing surface, and Colbert will get things started looking all the way across for Wilson. And as you see, the Cats are kind of back in that, look at us, we can do the perimeter thing while we move it around inside like that.
Look at, it's again, a nice feed by Tanner Whips. Damian Schultz, that's his third of the night. Those cuts into the interior.
Yeah.
The majority of the goals tonight have come off of that. I think that's a recipe for success. We talked about what Eastridge did Thursday, how they were plugging up the middle. That's the kind of movement you need to have, and those are the shots you got to look for to create against. As we come up against those teams that defensively are going to have the ability to do that and plug that up, and the shots we were getting Thursday night weren't coming from there.
No, it was that same. In essence, it was the same startup, the perimeter game, but instead of trying to find that interior cut as we win yet another face-off, a little blue collision there. They're looking for that interior cut versus that constant perimeter thing as it comes back to Meisinger. He throws a ground ball down. It's going to be a shot. Schultz will restart us. No, it's brilliant when you can find someone that close to the net from more of the periphery.
Drew Wilson working it.
Again, attracting that attention. Colbert had a nice little opportunity there. Ran into some traffic as Schultz is defending. Kind of an errant pass that's going to go into the Eagan bench. Turnover. 9:26 left, quarter 3, 10-2 Cats.
Yeah, I think, Burnsville there, it was just a errant pass. You got to, at this level of play, varsity high school, you got to connect your passes right. I didn't quite see where that one was going to. Maybe a little act of desperation there.
Yeah, there was some pressure, and he was, I don't know if it was like a failure to advance situation, but there were guys coming in. And so he clearly just said, well, we just got to try to send this out and see what happens. See Max Meekin moving around out there. Whips with the ball. Looking, shot, save.
Good stop by Burnsville's goalie. Again, Burnsville just barely connected the pass. Another errant pass, resulting in a turnover.
Merwin to Wilson, shot, goal.
And an Eagan goal. Turnovers, right? A couple sloppy plays there by Burnsville. Eagan capitalizes. You got to connect your passes. You got to move up the field, especially against a team like Eagan.
Well, it's one thing to be, as we're sitting here about 8.5 left in the third, 11-2 Cats, capitalizing on those turnovers. It's one thing to continue to add minutes to your time of possession. You can set things up. You can get selective. But in an instance like that, with a timely turnover and some fast legs moving the ball and finding, arguably at this point, your leading goal scorer closing in on the goalie, good things are going to happen, and it's happening again right here. Nice pickup of the pass. Wilson had some fancy stick work to kind of pick that up off the rug.
Yep, he did, and it's going to be Egan's ball.
Going to be Egan's ball, and Schultz is going to get us started. And he finds the cutter. It's Meisinger. Yeah, he just kind of unabated. Yeah, that was one of those ones that makes it look easy. 8:23 remaining quarter 3. And Scott had mentioned that the booth is open in the event that we get some insightful questions. 12-2 Cats.
That cut there into the interior by Meisinger, Burnsville defenders were all looking at Eagan, had their backs turned to the play, and that middle of the field was wide open.
We got the players on a knee as we're kind of one of their guys is being escorted off.
Can't see his number. Maybe he rolled an ankle or something.
Yeah, I think so. It was happened, I think, away from the play clearly because we didn't see it.
No.
Again, still early enough in the year where, some teams have spent good chunks of time in gymnasiums where the dynamics of movement and running and et cetera, are different. And then at any time of the year, turf, grass, or whatever, you can roll something. So I'm sure he'll be back out after get a chance to get checked out here as we hop down into the circle. I think it might be the freshman, out there for the Cats, if I'm not mistaken.
Patrick Ryman, we haven't seen him. Robbie Otto's been, I believe, taking every face-off up till this point in the game, the 8:22 mark of the third quarter. Like to see him getting some looks.
And he's it's going to be Cats. It looks like Raider kind of came up with it. Wilson looking. Big save. That was kind of a point-blank blast to the chest.
Had a good hard shot there. The goalie got in the way.
Nice clearing pass, too. Oh, play on, players.
Nice pickup there by Zach Branham.
You know, it's been a mere seconds, but this is kind of, and it just like that, it's a turnover. But the Blaze kind of setting up was something we hadn't seen in a while, as Stone feeds Wilson in the middle, a little hot to handle, but Wilson does push it out to himself, and now up to the top. Colbert down low, back behind the net. You're guessing it's Schultz.
Yep.
Back up way top. Oh, kind of intercepted and unable to hang on.
That was number 10, Joe Marco. It says he's in attack. Maybe that wasn't number 10. It was a nice defensive play, though. Again, the difference there. Burnsville, the defender in that alley or that space there in front of that, had his head on a swivel, got his stick up, made a deflection.
Yeah,
something Burnsville hasn't been doing really for the most part of this game, and that breaks up those plays in the middle.
Well,
right?
yeah, and had they been doing that all along, it's be a difficult argument to say that things would be different. But clearly, you can't just let a team like Eagan kind of have their will with you. Sticks up, eyes open, and that's how you do it. So. Kind of a rough one to handle as Raider chases it out of bounds. The Blaze will take over about midfield. And he pushed him out of bounds. Schultz has got a couple gloves on him, got him out of bounds. Yep. Cats ball. 12-2. 6:25 remaining. Quarter number 3. Cats ball, 12-2. Scott and Ken up here in the booth here at Bob Pate Stadium. Dick Hansen Field has the ball. Big shot off the top. Looks like that's Wilson again. Coming off that left side as you look at the net. And he's scored many from that area so far this season.
Yep, that's his place, right? That's his zone. Good shot, tough to stop from there. That's his third goal of the evening.
Yeah, time of possession right now is clearly been in favor of the Wildcats after not carrying the ball too much in the first couple of minutes. But we know it's a possession game as we're in the circle there. Looks like that could be Otto again. Again, he comes up pretty cleanly, and he's not a big guy, but he's able to get that ball back and kind of shield it a bit and let his LSM and kind of come in for it. So
some good work in the face-off circle tonight.
I think tonight we've won the large percentage of them as Colbert's kind of moving it around up top over to Gibby and then up to Whips.
It's a shot by Jack Stone.
Schultz getting us started again. And I'll tell you go ahead, Scott. That Stone up top?
Yeah, Stone up top. Go ahead, Ken.
You know, you see Damian working the back of that corner, that right post of the goalie, and I almost thought he was going to pull the trigger there, but just another and he clearly could have. He could have dropped his shoulder, cut through, and thrown a ground ball through there, but sent it back up top. And it doesn't show that he's seeing the field any more clearly than he had earlier, et cetera, et cetera. It's that we know there are options out there, and he could have easily taken the shot himself, but he exercised yet another option.
Yep.
And there's some versatility that this team is kind of demonstrating. The perimeter game to the interior cuts, the multiple passes around the mouth of the goal, another face-off win.
For Otto, yep.
Yeah, and just a nice night for the team to do what they should be doing as we're at about the 5-minute mark right now. No pressure to to win the game per se, more pressure to execute.
Nice rip there.
Like that's Thompson possibly with a big bomb about 20 yards out.
Jack Thompson, I believe that's his first goal of the season, his first varsity goal. We've been informed by the real booth, not this fake booth, but that we purport to be here, that the game has moved to running time due to the margin of the lead here for the Wildcats. So we will be in running time for the foreseeable future.
4:24 and running, quarter number 3, 15-2 Wildcats.
12 is the margin.
12 is the margin.
Running goal time frame.
And Ryman was in there to take that face-off, little false start by the Blaze as he comes up and finds Colbert over on the right side. So, yeah, the pressure to come out and deliver a decisive win, that wasn't the case. The pressure, if there was some tonight, it was to actually execute in clearly in a contest where you should. And I think that the Cats have delivered.
Yep, they absolutely. There's 15 goals here with 3 minutes left in the almost 4 minutes left in the third quarter. They did what they had to do tonight. Right?
Absolutely. And there's a few miscues. You're going to get them, but we clearly won the face-off battle.
Oh, absolutely. And it's aside from the first 2 minutes of the game, possession's been 90% Eagan,
yep.
right? And as Eagan gets more possession, they get more goals. And, the challenge will be against some of the top teams. How do you gain an edge in that possession battle, right? Tonight, no contest here, right? Eagan clearly comes out on top, so we'll see what they bring into the fourth quarter. My guess is we'll see some other players out on the field getting an opportunity to work in the system. So got to use these games and take advantage of what you can in them.
There's plenty to be gained as we just get under 3 minutes here, running time, quarter 3, 15-2 Cats. There's plenty to be gained from a lopsided win like this, and it's from a personnel point of view. It's from a execution point of view of some new looks, some new system type things. So the Wildcats are taking advantage of the fact that they clearly have the advantage tonight. Looks like that could be Diffley roaring up. It could be Verbeck, too. Looks like that's William Diffley streaking up the side and throws his shoulder down. And Cats will maintain possession here at 2:10, quarter 3.
No, good stop there.
Yeah, boy, point blank. Thompson was looking to kind of like a slam dunk. Nice jump there. He might have got a stick on it. Not enough to keep it in his possession as the Blaze bring it across. Meisinger kind of annoyingly going after stick up and throwing sticks and bodies on people.
Good aggressive defense there. Creates a turnover.
Yep. And play on players. I mean, again, I think some people, you hear a lot of oohs and ahs out of the crowd, depending on which side of the field you're sitting on, is multiple passes. But there was nowhere else to go.
Yeah, Meisinger to Schultz to Drew Wilson for his 4th of the night.
And, the funny thing is it wasn't just a head fake to create some options. He was clearly looking for, is there yet another someone that's on the other side of the net wide open, and there wasn't, so he dumped it down on the ground. 1 minute remaining, quarter 3, 16-2 Wildcats. And we are in running time for those who was wondering why the clock hasn't been stopping. 50 seconds remaining as they're in the circle to get probably conceivably the last face-off of the quarter underway as Otto wins yet another one. Some nice stick checking, but the Cats are following the bouncing ball, so to speak, and Schultz is looking. Tried to find Meisinger. Colbert got a look. He's going to try to find a lane. Oh, kind of a hello save as Meisinger brings it back out top. The goalie was in great position, but the way it hit like the shaft of his stick.
Yeah, like he kind of didn't.
Yeah, didn't quite see it coming. Colbert looking back to the middle. Or it's like Schultz may have looked to Colbert with another save. So the goaltender's had kind of some plenty of bright spots.
Yeah, he's making some stops, right? It's a busy night for the Burnsville goaltender. Nick Hermstead, he's seen a lot of activity. He has made some nice stops.
He has.
Unfortunately, a few have snuck by him as well for Burnsville.
16 to be exact, Scott.
Yeah.
And that would be our total here at the moment. 16-2 Wildcats. We're coming to you live via the internet. Uploaded directly via the Rabbit Ears. Tech guy Jesse's got us all plugged in and wired in. The Burnsville press box being our home for this evening at Bob Pate Stadium, overlooking Dick Hansen Field. State High School League battle, Burnsville Blaze, Eagan Wildcats, Eagan up 16-2. Running time heading into the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Eagan's got a comfortable lead here. We'll be in running time. I think in the fourth quarter, you get some additional players in the field, and you just keep working on the fundamentals. Good, sharp passes, smart plays, heads-up lacrosse. Take this and, you know what, go back. Good day of practice tomorrow, and it's game day again on Thursday at Wildcat Stadium, where the Eagan Wildcats will face off against Lakeville South, the Cougars, Farmington, the Tigers of Farmington at 5:30. So I think an improved Farmington squad. Again, talking about a program that's building, trying to establish themselves on the lacrosse scene. Struggled last year. They took St. Thomas to overtime a week ago. I believe it was a week ago.
That's right.
The jury's out on, was that a poor performance by St. Thomas? Was that a great performance by Farmington? So, again, it's a program that's looking to establish itself. And, hey, every time you come out, you got to be ready to play. It doesn't matter if you're playing Burnsville or if you're playing Benilde St. Margaret or Prior Lake, right? You got to be ready to play. And, look, there's still a target on Eagan's back, right? They're defending section champions 3 times in a row now. Success in the conference, everybody we play is gunning for us, and you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready. You got to bring your best game and be looking sharp. And so the challenge now in the fourth quarter tonight is look crisp, look sharp, good, smart lacrosse, and carry that momentum into practice tomorrow and then the game on Thursday.
Well, and that's the thing, too, because it was a fairly one-sided affair this evening, because it was we were able to kind of impart our will tonight on the turf. We can move into tomorrow's practice in more of a preparatory mode for Farmington, albeit, we're clearly not preparing for one of the absolute powerhouses of the sport. We're looking to go out again and create a situation where we can execute, and not feel the same kind of pressure that we might feel against an East Ridge or a Chan or a Benilde or a Prior Lake. So we can move right into practice tomorrow, thinking about what went on tonight, but also looking ahead to the Thursday contest against Farmington.
Yep, and I think if you look at that was Matt Verbeck.
It was Verbeck with a goal. We're running time, folks. 11-11 remaining in this contest. 17-2 Wildcats.
So we've got a couple of questions here. Our producer, Kevin Sorensen, has chimed in with a question, and we'll take a stab at it here. This is a fun one here that we could tackle a 17-2 lead early in the fourth quarter. Let's pull it up here.
What are you guys having for dinner tonight? What time should I be there?
Where are the cold beverages? Do you think lacrosse should go back to the wooden sticks that the Eagan coach used when he played? Hey, why not, right? We have expertise. We have a person familiar with the use of the wooden stick. Let's bring it back. And you know what? If you want to punish someone, you have that wooden stick out there. You can inflict some damage on if you're a D-pole and got a long defensive wooden stick there, you can certainly make somebody feel that with a good stick check or a whack across the legs or something. So I say bring them back.
Some games or some sports, the decision to move to new materials and new and fiber-based, products is because of weight or strength. Hockey in particular, they use different composites and they don't break as many sticks per se. Baseball, they're into aluminum bats with 933 remaining, 17-2 Wildcats. As far as lacrosse is concerned, the decision to move to a different material in the construction of the stick, well, I'm sure it makes it lighter to drag it around, especially for the poles and the goalie who's constantly got his stick in the air. I don't know that there's any other advantage. We're not breaking a lot of sticks. So I say bring it back. Let's go old school. Let's go Chiefs hockey kind of thing here. A little slap shot.
Let's have vintage lacrosse night at Eagan at Wildcat Stadium. We have EAA night.
Yep.
We have senior night. Let's go vintage night. Let's bring back mandatory wooden sticks. You know what? Let's get some old school heavy grade uniforms. None of this synthetic stuff.
Can play with a rock,
Yeah,
like they did in the early origins of the game. But a great question, and again, I think too, a lot of the technological advances in athletics is driven performance based. I just don't know. Aside from the weight of the stick, again, there's flexibility in hockey sticks. There's different pliabilities in aluminum bats. On the baseball and softball diamonds. But, bring it back. I'm all for it.
And, hey, Coach Felter would be all for it, right? I mean, he, kid in a candy store, right?
Right, exactly. He's actually talked about some of the older equipment, so clearly could be something worth checking out. Insightful question from our executive producer.
Only the best. I mean, our producer's the best, right? And no one else could come up with a question quite like that.
And really, and a follow-up question, what kind of wood do you use? You're not getting away with some cheap pine, and we got to use like hickory or something along those lines. As we were taking a knee again, we got a Blaze player down around the 25-yard line. Looks like number 14.
Oh, that is Corey Bell.
Didn't see what happened. He might be favoring his midsection, so it could have been some contact. But it looks like the coach is kind of examining another ankle. Yeah, Scott, you and I were talking earlier about the turf here, and the fact that it's been around for a while, and I'm not familiar with it being a second application of turf. If it's the original turf, it's been here for a while, and we all know that over time turf becomes a little less playable than it was early on, and now we've seen 2 ankle injuries, or lower leg injuries, and you just don't know. I haven't been on this turf in a couple of years, so I don't know where it's at compared to some of the turf fields we've been on more recently. We all know that some of the newer installations are very forgiving. It's about as close to running on well-groomed grass as you can get. Older turf tends to take on kind of a veteran stadium Philadelphia kind of thing, and paint the parking lot green. And you can tell this is lower profile turf. It's been out there for a while, and you don't know what their plan is for treating it with the machinery, et cetera, et cetera. But we hope that that player, as he kind of works his way off the field, it's just something minor that he'll bounce back from. It's not the gentleman that was hurt earlier, to the best of my knowledge.
No, it's a different player, and that would be a huge, if this injury, and boy, he's not putting any weight on that. If this indeed is serious, a huge loss for the Burnsville program. Again, they're looking to establish themselves and build that foundation upon which future success can happen in the coming years. I'd argue Corey Bell is probably their best player, best able to create offense and stuff, and to lose him for, even if it was a short time, would really be detrimental, right? Probably their top player. So let's hope that Corey Bell is okay, maybe just a soft roll and a couple Advil, and it'll be better in a couple days, and he'll be able to get back out on the field.
Ooh, tough to handle, kind of a nice pass. Looks like a stick to the head, flag down. Going to be against Burnsville. 17-2 Wildcats, 7 minutes remaining.
So the clock, during even in a running time situation on a referee's timeout for injury, the clock does stop, right? So it did pause there at 7, I believe it was 7:44.
Yep, as we got the injured player taken care of. So
we have another question into the booth. This thing's working out pretty good. This one's interesting. who has been your favorite Eagan player to watch over the past few years? And, we'll weigh in on this. And for anybody listening, if they have other opinions or ideas, certainly text the booth with those at 651-235-2718. So I don't, I don't know how you can argue with Brandon Wirtz. A dynamic player. Was the pivotal and the key player to Eagan's 2017 state championship. Brandon, a phenomenal athlete, great athlete, strong upper body, quick moves, a lethal shot. Had a fantastic senior season for the Wildcats in 2017, and talking about a player that can create and make things happen and make everybody on the field better by simply being there.
Clearly,
he was just a thrill to watch. And when it came time to make things happen and win games, you get the ball to he was wearing number 8, and you get it to him and let him make things happen. I can recall some pivotal goals. In the state semifinal game against Matamidi, stretches during the year when we were in some competitive, in the prior late game that year. Just a treat to watch a player like that.
Well, anytime you have a player that can bring up the level of play in his teammates, how can he not be a favorite, someone that has that kind of effect on your program?
Jack Currington, too, right?
Yep.
We
Comes to mind.
We talked about him earlier in last week in our broadcast last week, about the impact his loss would have on the program. 4-year starter, All-American, Mr. Goalie Award, et cetera, et cetera. So, he was a thrill to watch, too, not only in his ability to make stops and stop shots, but what he did with the ball, moving it up the field. Jack was a good athlete, and he could take the ball and run and create plays, moving the ball up the field. And there was times you kind of closed your eyes and like, what is he doing? It's like, oh my, he just made a fantastic play that fed that Eagan transition game that was so prevalent during those years. And a tremendous athlete too, but just again a thrill to watch. Lots of good players in the program. Those are the two that
couple that come to mind for sure.
You know what? Maybe the part about a program like this is whether we're sitting here in a year, a couple of years, or some other people, do we look back and is there somebody in this group that enters that conversation?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's an exciting thing. Well-run program, cohesive team, kids that have stepped up. As far as, sharing the spotlight, clearly we have some goal scorers, but we have many goal scorers, and the goal scorers know that. So the pressure isn't on one set of shoulders. It's on this team collectively, as we're now running time still down about 3:33, 18-2. Wildcats with a recent goal by Whips in the midst of that conversation. But the team is that set of shoulders this year, and it's not any one player at any one position or a player or two at several positions. I think this team is starting to look to the left and look to the right as a little bit of a turnover there about to occur. Back to the Blaze.
Hey, we got another question. This is great. Love to keep these coming. I think based on the questions tonight, even questions about wooden lacrosse sticks, we'll maybe keep going with this feature. So the third one here, this is a great one, too, because it gives us a chance to spotlight a few of our seniors and what they'll be doing next year. So what boys are playing college-level lacrosse next year from the Cats? Signed, Dan from Eagan. So I know of 3. If there are others, my apologies. I'm not simply aware of that. If I miss anybody, if somebody could get that information to us, Burnsville with a goal there. So I'll tell you the 3 I know about, and again, if there's others, we certainly will call them out on the air at a future time because we want to bring light to these things. It's a great accomplishment when our players can advance into the college ranks, whether that's at the club level locally here, whether that's at the Division III, 2, or 1 level. Fantastic. It speaks volumes for where the program is. So Soren Thrall is committed to Lewis College, a Division II institution. I believe they're starting a new lacrosse program. There's a couple other folks from the south suburban area, I believe, that have also committed to that program. So great for Soren. Tommy Forche, again, not playing this year with the Wildcats due to an injury. He's a senior. He's committed to Division II Rockhurst. That's a school in Kansas City. They've got a number of Minnesota connections, some Minnesota guys on the roster. They recruit the area. So unfortunately, Tom's hurt and not able to be with us on the field this year. He's with the team at practice and on the sideline, so he'll get an opportunity once his knee is healed up to get in on the college action. And the third person, Drew Wilson, we've touched on this before. He'll be playing next year at Long Island University, a Division I institution, of course, in New York. So that's fantastic. Fantastic for the program. We wish all three of those young men the best of luck as they, move on to the next phase of their careers. They graduate from Eagan High School in June and move into the college lacrosse game. So again, if there's people out there, and if I've missed anybody, please let us know, because we certainly want to mention that on the air. And we hope that as our program is elevated, that these conversations, kind of become the norm as we move forward. That there's people from the junior class, sophomore class, freshman class, that this is part of the narrative of Eagan. We can produce players, and if they choose, they can move into the college lacrosse ranks.
Absolutely. Great question. 10 seconds remaining. Kind of a lopsided affair tonight. Wildcats with the ball, and big save. 18-3 Cats as the final ticks are gone. And that is that for the Wildcats Burnsville Blaze contest. Coming to you from the box. We're still, and again, great idea to let us be incommunicado with the general